about that at the end. But that's something to keep in mind as we go through your goals and your options. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your goals and what you expect from us?
I want to make sure that this photograph does not become public. Okay. And I want to make sure that I don't get debarred.
Okay.
That's it. As long as nobody finds out, then I probably can handle this.
So you mentioned at the beginning you may have to file bankruptcy.
Yeah. Well, if I can keep this spinning, I can keep bringing in more clients. I can keep, because people think I'm good still. I can keep bringing in more clients. I can keep getting more money. I can keep it moving. But if the word gets around that I'm not doing a good job, and if worse, people know why, then I will lose some of the clients I have, and I can't afford to pay them back the money I've taken. I won't get more clients. Then I'm going to be in serious trouble.
So Natalie, do you think that's a good idea to, as you put it, keep it spinning?
Well, it's the only way I can think of to go on.
Well, and we'll talk some about some of those options you have. But I want to make sure that I have some of the priorities, like James talked about, the priorities right. So the way I hear it, your number one priority is the photograph.
Yeah.
Is to keep that from becoming public. Is that right?
Yes.
That goes above, you'd rather file bankruptcy than have that photo come out.
Yes.
Okay.
I need to keep my practice.
Okay.
Otherwise I got no way to make money.
And so part of that is keeping your license. You'd rather keep your license and have to file bankruptcy.
But what happens if I file bankruptcy? Will they let me keep my license?
I think you'll be okay. Like I said, if this all comes out and plays out, you may get a suspension of your license. But you'll be able to probably keep your license long term.
What kind of suspension?
Well, for a first time, this all depends. Because like we've talked about, if you come forward yourself, then they look at that and they consider that as far as the suspension goes. So it may be 6 months to a year. If it comes out because one of Sammy's men sends a picture to the local newspaper, then you might be looking at a couple year suspension.
Can't we just do something about this photograph and I just keep my clients?
What do you propose?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm here.
Okay, I was just wondering if you'd thought about it. Really, legally, we can't. There's not much we can do. You can pay the money, and they still are not obligated to not go forward with the photograph. Say you pay them $1 million to not have the photograph come out, and then photograph comes out.
They don't want money though. They just want me to get him off. So I get him off.
So you get him
finished, doesn't it?
Well, maybe, perhaps, right? So maybe you get them off, and then they want something else from you, and they still have the photograph. You have no legal means of stopping them from sending that photograph out. At any time, they could send that photograph out at their discretion if you do something that they don't like. And that's a tough position to be in, but in reality, that's the position. Now, James and I want to help you try and work through that, kind of stop the bleeding at some point so that you can move on, and you can move on with your life. But the reality is, with that photograph hanging out there, there's nothing you can legally do to stop them from sending that photograph to the newspaper.
Okay.
Natalie, it's not a good position to be in, obviously. This is a difficult spot. However, I want you to know that it's not all doomsday here, because we have some options that are better than others. Okay. As Steve said, there's not a lot you can do because you don't have the original photograph. One of the attorneys we have working in our firm has a background in public relations. So he's a specialist in helping people to preserve their reputation, to make the best out of bad situations. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean that he can take a bad situation and make it great. Okay? But there are some advantages, it's been brought up a little bit, there are some advantages to you coming forward with your drug use. Right? If you have already decided to participate in the bar's drug abuse program, what does a picture of you snorting cocaine mean? Nothing. The bar already knows because you have gone to them and said, I'm struggling with an addiction and I'd like to get some help. The moment you do that, a picture goes out and it means very little to your career because the bar has already been put on notice. Now, it may not preserve your reputation, but that's where the attorney at our firm comes in, is he can help you to make the best out of that situation.
Right. I wanted to reiterate what James said, but I wanted to say that we are your attorneys, so if you decide not to go to the bar, well, we're not your attorneys yet, but if we decide together to go forward, then we can't force you to go to the abuse center. But, like James said, as soon as you do, that takes all of the power away from these men from SAMI. Because what do they have? That's something that everybody already knows about. So that's something to consider. We're running low on time, as you know. We would like to meet with you again after we both consider some of the things that we've talked about. And I want to run through some options for you to think about. The first option you have is to do nothing, is to continue working how you're working and see if you can make it work. I don't think that's the best option, but that's an option for you to consider. Your next option is to go and talk to the substance abuse counselors and programs and kind of take control of this situation yourself and ensure that it comes out in the way that you want it to come out. And that's one decision you have to make. To go forward, yes, the photograph comes out, you're probably suspended, and it's going to get you into monetary, you're probably going to have some financial issues as well. But you can then move on from that point. The third thing you can do is you can try and, like you said, move Sammy up the list. You can try your best to get him off. You may or may not get him off, and that photograph is still floating out there somewhere. Okay? So I know it's a lot to think about, and we have a lot of people come in here that have to deal with really tough issues. And oftentimes there's no good resolution, but there is the best resolution for you in your situation. And that's what you have to decide what it is. James and I are here to help you. We'll tell you we told you what the consequences are with the Bar Association. A first-time use of cocaine is a felony still. Probably no jail time, just probation. And they'll ask you to go through some programs and pay a fine. So those are the type of penalties you're looking at criminally for the cocaine use. Okay. Now, we know a lot of information about you, so we want to give you some information about us. This has information about us personally, information about our firm, and information about those doctors and counselors that we've talked about, so that if you decide to get help, you have all the information you need to get help. Okay? Remember, our advice is to, one, stop if you can, because it only creates more problems. And two, don't talk about it to anybody. Okay? Now, this is our retainer agreement. For us, the retainer is going to be to represent you going forward is going to be $10,000. I know you said that money is an issue. Our firm may not be the perfect fit because, like you said, we bill out at an expensive rate. We can look into our pro bono budget. That's one thing that James and I will discuss. And if you aren't able to pay this with legitimate money, if we can take on your case, there's also legal aid. And we can give you some great numbers for some of our legal aid contacts for people that can represent you and help you deal with this problem for a lower fee or for no fee at all. Okay?